to another episode of Boss Moves with Business Acumen, aka Boss Moves. I got my investment partners in the room right now. Trey and Mo, what's happening?
What's going on, Charles? What's poppin', family?
We in here.
Back with another one.
BMBA Investment Group family. So we ready to get into it. Our format's gonna be a little bit different today. Usually, we have a topic that's dealing with investment, dealing with some investment advice. But seeing as what's going on in the country right now, I think we would be doing the wrong thing if we ignored that, if we didn't at least get into it and figure out, still within the realm of economics, of investment, of financials, like what we could do or what might work to kind of break down the system of white supremacy in the United States. So, that being said, there's some things that kind of go along those lines. We know how this started, right? We know that it's not just about our dear brother George Floyd,
right,
who was, viciously murdered by a police officer. We know that he was the straw that broke the camel's back, though.
That's right.
But it's been an ongoing thing. Breonna Taylor, some of the other recent ones. I'm sure we could rattle off a bunch of names. I don't want to do them disrespect by forgetting any of them. But with that being said, guys, what would you think is something that we could do along the lines of a boycott, an acute boycott, something that's focused or something that's more broad? Just tell me what ideas might you have about that?
Well, go ahead, Trey.
Well, I was just going to say, and I'm not sure about the terms of a boycott, but I know that we need to at least increase participation and patronize Black businesses a whole lot more than we do already. And that includes, white people as well. But, I'm just mainly about, building up whatever kind of businesses we can. What type of boycotts you got in mind, Mo?
Well, when it comes to boycotts, that's kind of, a sticky subject, because we knew how the boycotts worked when it was in the 60s. The bus boycotts, those worked to a T. They were begging us to come back. Yeah, very powerful. They were begging us to come back to ride those buses. Right now, I feel like we need to be very strategic. We need to figure out, come on one accord, figure out as a whole, who can we plan to boycott if the boycott is the plan. I'm with you, Trey. I think if we practice group economics, that is almost in itself a boycott, because we are focusing our funds on us. So that's almost a planned boycott, of in and of itself. So that's
you got to realize
we have to do.
Yeah, I was about to just say, you got to realize once you start creating your own companies, you'll naturally stop going to theirs.
Exactly.
You understand what I'm saying?
Exactly.
We were just pointing out, the Freedom toilet paper, like when everybody was rushing for the toilet paper. Freedom toilet paper, they're a Black-owned toilet paper company, and their website crashed with all the little toilet paper, little frenzy that went on. So you know what I'm saying? So if we have something to replace it with, it's easy to boycott, but it's kind of hard to boycott, corporations. It's hard to boycott toilet paper. You know what I'm saying? It's hard to boycott your essentials. You know what I mean? So I think that we really also focus on, at the same time as a boycott, starting our own companies and patronizing those companies.
Yeah, I think I agree with that 100% what you guys have stated. But the thing is, as a general must, that's got to be our top priority, right? Us starting our own companies as a general must, that's got to be the number one thing.
Has to be.
However, even though when I hear the word boycott, it sounds kind of passe to me. It sounds like some 60s stuff, but we can't forget the power that was in that, especially the Montgomery bus boycott. We can't forget the power that was in that, right? But when I think about it now, I really think about how much strategy could be involved in that. That's why I said acute boycotts, because these are not like just kind of hunky-dory, oh, we ain't gonna go here, what we've been doing is using social media to target places that are non-compliant. And we've been getting results. Places that have shown that they got racist attitudes, that they're aligning with quote unquote president, that they're, have come down on the wrong side of history. We've been getting to our social media and creating a firestorm, but these folks are coming out and apologizing because we subtract our business from them. There's a guy that has a seafood restaurant, I believe it's in Louisiana. It's a white guy. He said some reckless stuff online. Like it had to be 2 or 3 years ago, actually. But with the sentiment of what's going on around right now, people brought that back up. And 90% of his customers are black people. And best believe that that social media pressure hit him. People stopped going altogether. He had a trickle of business. He online. I call it mayonnaise-splaining, mayo-splaining, talking about how he's a friend of the black community and he didn't want to be offensive and this and that. It just showed me that there's still a whole lot of power in doing some strategic, acute boycotts for companies that are not like compliant are not on the right side of history. I'll put it that way. Right. So,
and social media
number one, our business.
Social media has been a big tool in starting some of these discussions, these kind of finger pointing, like, hey, what are y'all gonna do? I think we've all heard recently how the NFL put out a statement, just a broad, general, nothing sandwich,
nothing burger.
About what's going on, and it was pointed out, social media, the biggest tool to get it out there as fast and as quick as possible. And you best believe this season, there will definitely be some boycotts now. There will definitely be some boycotts. Knees taken, fists in the air, whatever it takes to bring in awareness.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of, and that, the other point that I even have listed is the accountability of corporations. It leads right into that. Like, how far we should go in holding corporations accountable for their practices. I think we need to take it as far as we need to review, like, these different corporations, review their structure, review the percentage of black employees that they have. Because based on that, honestly, you can tell how they do business. You can look at Google and see that it has 2% of black employees. You know what I'm saying? You can look at Facebook and see they got 3 or 4% black employees when we're 13% of the population. Something's not right. Something's not jiving.
And Charles, to be honest with you, I want to see exactly, just to tag on to that point, I want to see exactly kind of what steps these companies make. I know we're hearing, and it's very funny, like we're hearing just random quotes from all these companies like, oh, I'm with the black community. I love the black community.
Solidarity.
The black community is so great. And I'm united. I love Black Lives Really Matter over here. And then you, like you said, you go to Google and it's 2%. So it's like, I wonder what steps are these corporations going to take next. And because to be very honest with you, I think that's where it has to go next. Like, we have to pretty much put that pressure on them. Like, look, y'all need to either start hiring black employees, start having more black shareholders, whatever it takes. Board members, black board members, you know what I'm saying? So whatever it takes to really get that done, I think is what we need to do. Now, in terms of what we need to actually boycott. Now, me personally, this might be somewhat idealistic, but I would like to boycott essential goods first. Like, there is and I know down there where you are in Atlanta, I believe there's like a black, pretty much kind of store, kind of supply store with all like black suppliers, and it's kind of, I know it has an online presence as well. Forgot the website, but basically your toothbrushes. There's a black-owned toothbrush company.
They're here.
I know
what you're talking about.
There's a black-owned toothpaste company. You know what I'm saying? There's black-owned, like I said, a black-owned toilet paper company. So, and I think the only reason I say it's key to boycott those first is because that's really what a country and a people really needs. We need toothbrushes and toothpaste and toilet paper and farms to supply good food for us. Those are things we actually need. We don't necessarily need the luxury goods as much. So the first things I would say we could boycott, and at the same time start businesses, would be our essential goods. Anything from even essentials, even things like tampons for our women, because a lot of times the tampons they supply might cause different cancers and all type of different things. So just start supplying things that we have to have. And you got to realize, when you start those type of businesses, we're going to need toothbrushes, we're going to need tampons, this is not something that's just just random discretionary income type
demand shit. Is always there.
The demand is always there. So I think that's where we should start, in my opinion.
And that's real important, especially in times like these, a pandemic. So those essential needs are what everybody is making sure that they have stocked up in their homes. So, that's a great idea to, go after the essentials first.
And you're talking about low cost in terms on the grand scheme of things. Toilet paper, a toothbrush, you know what I'm saying? We're not, you ain't got to go out and buy all type of shit and build something huge, and you're talking about making a toothbrush, and most likely you can find these goods overseas. You really are just somewhat of the distribution, you know what I'm saying, behind it in the States.
Right, that's one way.
Right, find some toothbrushes overseas and just come on and you just distribute them. You ain't got to actually be sitting there, making the toothbrush and forming the plastic. You ain't got to do all that.
Although long term, that's where the economies of scale come in. That's where you make the most money.
Oh yeah, long term. Yeah, I'm just talking about right now, like to really get us started. Like, you make those connections with overseas, manufacturers, and you get those goods in now. Of course, absolutely. Yeah, in the long run, sure. In the long run, we're going to be forced into creating our own toothbrushes, creating our own, toilet paper and things of that nature. So, toilet tissue, man. It's just, we always gonna need some toilet tissue.
Right.
And you know what? Somewhat loosely related to that, like still in the realm of money, we're talking about boycott. So now let's talk about defunding. You've been hearing a lot of things about defunding the police, defunding, what does that mean to you guys when you hear somebody start talking about defunding a precinct? Because a lot of people have been thinking that means just get rid of them and we don't have no police no more. What does that mean to you? Because there's a lot of confusion around it.
Me personally, I say limit the numbers out there on the streets, in terms of the numbers of cops, in terms of the equipment and all the weapons used.
Military equipment.
The military equipment, unless it's body cams or something, because this is what people don't actually realize. The cops don't do shit. Cops literally don't do shit. They don't stop crime. They literally just report a crime after it happens. They come in there, they do a report. They're reactionary. They don't actually stop shit. They're not Batman coming to the rescue. Yeah, cops don't.
I mean, some cases are different. It's a case by case basis. But I understand, for the most part, what you're saying.
But I think name it. Unless you're talking about an off-duty cop happens to be somewhere that happens to be in a restaurant that gets robbed or something. Name when a cop is actually stopping crime.
I mean, you see about these school shootings. Mass shootings in schools. There have been cops to come in and kind of stop those. When those start to occur. But I understand what you're saying for the most part.
And I feel what you're saying, but when you got to go to mass shootings in schools, find an example.
Well, just an example, that was just an example there. But
right.
Now I understand when it comes to defunding the police, in my eyes, it really boils down to de-militarizing the police. They don't need assault rifles.
That's the way I think of it.
Yeah, assault rifles that they use in war, that the military uses. They don't need tanks and things like that.
I mean, tanks?
Yeah, these are human beings you're talking about.
And I guess that's what I mean when I say defund as well, because if you don't have all that military police, you really can't you can't go out here and force a whole bunch of will. You can really just protect and serve, which is what you're supposed to be doing. I mean, you know, help an old lady out with a flat tire or something. Do something, you know, useful or something.
Yeah, that's what I think about when I think about defunding them. They don't really need those high artillery weapons, you know. So, you know, just do the main essential job of
and
being
the
a police
thing
officer.
is, how did they convince us throughout the country, throughout the large cities in the country, and there's some small cities that have this stuff too. How did they convince us that we need tanks in our cities? Like full on, like Sherman tanks and modified tanks where, you know, they be protected from major explosions. We haven't had situations, you know, that I can think of or that have been publicized in our city where, you know, we gonna need a tank to fight gangs or whatnot, whatever. So it's like how we even got there to where it's become such a large part of the budgets of these big cities. So the governor, is it the governor or the mayor? The governor or the mayor of California, I guess would have to be governor if I'm talking about California as a state. But he just, you know, he committed to defunding the police $150 million. And actually, it's not really defunding them. They're about to get $150 million extra. And he diverted those funds and said it's going to go to quote unquote communities of color, which is a trick bag in itself too. We have to really watch out for that. Because when they say communities of color, they're talking about Hispanics, Asians, and they're gonna say minorities, and it's gonna be white women. Because I mean, and I'm not just chopping it off. Like, exactly. They'll talk about. Well, see, that's the thing. I'm not just chopping that off. That we found that over the last 20 to 30 years, all of those set-asides that our ancestors fought for during the civil rights movement became something. They changed the language to minorities. They changed the language to people of color. Right now, we're out protesting for abuses against Black Americans, right? So if we're gonna be diverting funds to something, it needs to go to Black community organizations. In my eyes, I'm sorry, you know, I'm not on the whole Black and Brown coalition thing. Everybody's cool. I don't hate nobody, but they got to hold their own nuts. This right now, we have to look out. And our love for ourselves and each other is not our hate for anybody else. So we're out talking about the abuses of Black people in particular. Those funds need to be diverted to Black community organizations specifically. You know, if they want to get a Brown Lives Matter movement going on, they can be our guests and they can go ahead and do that, and then they can get some funds diverted. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's just how I feel about it. But those funds were diverted, and I think that's a good way to use economics to bring about change.
Well said.
And that's where, you know, I think it started even with affirmative action. You know, affirmative action was to allow Black people to get in the workforce alongside their white counterparts. But like you said, Charles, when they're talking about people of color, they're not only talking about African Americans anymore. We might even be a smaller part of the whole. We're talking about Hispanics, Asians, Native Americans, Pacific Islanders, Middle Eastern Americans. So, you know, that's everybody but white America. You know, that's pretty much what it boils down to. So
well, statistically, what's been happening is those like Black people have been getting less of people of color funds than ever, and less than anyone. You know, the most outside funds that have been going to minorities have been going to white women. So they found a way to bring those funds that were supposed to be coming out of white America and into quote unquote minorities communities to put them right back into white America.
And you know a lot of actually like a lot of white men use their wives as fronts just to say that, you know what I'm saying, their wife owns or is the CEO of a company and to get minority grants and all type of things. And the thing that's hilarious, Right. The thing that's hilarious about that is women aren't even minorities.
Nope.
Right.
Not,
Right.
nope. Not by the numbers, especially aren't.
Right.
Women are over 50% of the population. So
Right.
women aren't even minorities at all.
Right.
So it's crazy how we get, lack of a better word, fucked every time. You know what I'm saying? We're supposed to have some type of set asides for us. And now you got white men and white women. Gay white men can be considered a minority.
That's right.
So yeah,
gay white men.
Yeah, so they found a way to get it right back into their community, and that's because we fall asleep on the job a bit, and we start getting very comfortable using these terms because we don't want to make them uncomfortable. I'm gonna tell you, black people say black and brown so they won't make white people uncomfortable. White people get uncomfortable if you say black. Oh yeah, people are no. I said black.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
and that's
what I'm saying?
why. Yeah, really, in the end, all of this really is our fault just for the simple mentality that we have. We have a very second-rate or second-class citizen mentality. Like, you know what I'm saying? We don't understand that naming things and how you qualify things is very important. You can't let other people name, your movements or name whatever you got going. You know what I'm saying? A civil rights movement instead of just, naming it what it is. These are rights for black people, like, you know what I'm saying, just human rights for black people, not civil rights for everybody.
Because everybody's done piggybacked on that now, and that's just what it's become. But and part of that, I'm not gonna say, like we had to learn game, like we had to come up on game. Like it took some years. We haven't been savvy in that way for many years, but guess what? Now we are. Now we see the trick bags for what they are, and now there's no excuse not to name things how they're supposed to be named and be specific and require tangibles for the things that we ask for, and not trip over people feeling uncomfortable, because they're going to be uncomfortable anytime you say black. But black are the ones that are being abused the most and have got the shittiest end of the stick in this country. So, I mean, that's arguable with Native Americans. But however, we can't even say that because we were the Native Americans that were here in many cases, So you got the shittiest end of the stick. So it should be us that gets the set asides that we're owed. Not just, this ain't we asking you for something alone. This is owed. So I think people need to think about it in a different way.
This is the perfect time to ask for it. This is the perfect not ask, but demand.
It's not even asking.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Demand. So this is the perfect
time.
Right.
I know what you meant.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a better time.
The appropriate word is sanctions. We got to start looking at ourselves like a nation. We got to put sanctions on other people. When you harm us, when you do things to us, we got to put literal economic sanctions on you. We are the biggest consumers in the world. So holding back some of our dollars and putting it, back into our own pockets, that does hurt. Like I tell people all the time, black people in America, we literally dictate American foreign policy. If we sit there and started our own convenience stores, started our own nail salons, started our own hair supply stores, you're literally kicking major ethnic immigrants out of the country. Literally, because they wouldn't be able to survive. We literally dictate.
They wouldn't have no reason to be here.
Right.
I mean, you know what I'm saying? Think if we started we only went to our own convenience stores. I mean, hell, how many Arabs are gone? Yeah, and this ain't no hate on nobody else, but this is just we got to take care of ourselves first. You know what I'm saying? So it's not.
That's game.
I don't want to kick anybody out of the country. But the thing about it is, they only come in the country to leech off of us. So I mean,
absolutely. And then you'll have that's a good segue into the issues that are happening in New York, where the Asian community, and I think we talked about this a little bit before, the Asian community is seeing higher unemployment numbers than anybody. That's because at all of the Asian nail shops and at all of the Asian restaurants, they employ only Asians. And so when you're talking about one restaurant that got 20 employees, that's all Asian, it's going to look like a bigger loss than it really is. Because if it was a diverse workplace, then it wouldn't hit the community so hard. But that's just one example. It's crazy, man. I mean, you talk about sanctions, Trey, and it's funny because that's almost how I look at the, what should I call them, rebellions we've been having around the country.
Right.
People call them, like, I think about the economic pressure caused by protests,
Right.
by looting, by riots.
Right.
Like, I see it, honestly, I see it all as sanctions. I see it all as something that's necessary and makes people economically uncomfortable. And it's punishment, it's justice. And that's gotten a lot of shit done over the last 2 weeks.
And that's why I think it's hilarious
about that.
when people be like, "Oh God, what is looting and rioting? What is that really doing?" And something. I'm like, ask your city, ask your mayor what that riot did. That couple billion, they got to come out.